What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over defensive tips 101 for Madden, all of the basic information you need to know on defense to make yourself a much better defensive player and help you win a lot more games. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want to be up to date on all of the latest Madden tips to help improve your game or the Madden news that drops daily, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on so you never miss any uploads. You guys have been running up the subscribe button like crazy lately, and I appreciate you guys. Now, let's get into the defensive tips 101. The first thing I go over every year is you need to understand how to match personnel. So when your opponent calls a play, it's going to pop up in the bottom hand of the screen, and it's going to say, hey, he's got 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. Or he has, 1 wide receiver, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. You want to wait for him to do this before you pick your play. If he has 2 or less wide receivers, typically you want to stick with a 4-3 or a 3-4 type formation because it's just bigger bodies on the field, more people in the box. If they're coming out in 2 receivers or less, there's a very high probability that they're going to be running the ball, and you don't want to come out in like a dime or a dollar defense when they're running the ball because they're going to gash you. However, if they have 3 or more wide receivers, that's when you want to start looking at things like your nickel formations, your dime, and your dollar, because these are going to have more cornerbacks on the field, and you want to match speed for speed. You don't ever want to end up in a situation where you have a linebacker having to check a wide receiver. That's usually going to be a speed mismatch the majority of the time. So always make sure you match personnel. Next, I want to talk about coverages. You got to understand the basic coverages. The main ones are your cover 2 man, you have your cover 2 zone, and you have your cover 3. That's what most people run. Now, you obviously have some other things like cover 4 can be really good as well. You just want to make sure that you're not using a play that says cover 4 quarters or cover 4 palms, because those actually play man defense even though they look like zone. It gets a little confusing. So if you want to use a cover 4, make sure the play says cover 4 drop. That's how you know it's an all-out zone. But otherwise, cover 3, cover 2 are really the main 2 coverages people use in Madden. Man defense is good for like end of half situations where you just want everybody manned up. You want people over the top, or like really long yardage situations where you just don't want to give up a big play and you want everybody accounted for. But man to man otherwise is usually something people just mix in because it's too easy to abuse man coverage in Madden. Okay, I just wanted to interject here because after I recorded this video some days later, it's become really evident that man defense is actually pretty good right now in Madden. It's much improved, and a lot of people are running man defense as a down-to-down defense using a lot of cover 1. So while this might not be as viable later in the year as more people find new ways to abuse man coverage, because they always will, right now against a lot of people you can actually have a lot of success running man defense. Cover 3 and cover 2 are the ones people go to the most. Cover 3 against most players, that aren't super skilled and know how to glitch out the game, for lack of a better term. Cover 3 will protect you against most deep passes. It'll also rally down to the flats to kind of limit the yards you can get. The main weakness is going to be over the short middle because you only have these 2 hook curls. So that's usually where you would want to get on a user defender and try to manually take things away yourself. But again, unless you're playing someone that's really skilled and knows how to take advantage of the deep zones, you shouldn't get bombed too much using a cover 3. Cover 2 is really good at keeping most things in front of it, and they just rally down to the ball. It makes people have to work. The main weakness is the deep middle back here, because usually this linebacker doesn't get far enough back here, and sometimes these safeties split out too wide, so you can get beat deep down there. So that might be something you want to watch manually, or a good trick you can do is you can manually drop this guy into a deep zone. You do this by pressing A on Xbox, X on PlayStation, and then you see you have zone assignments on the screen. You can press up, and that drops him into a deep blue. It kind of just helps protect the deep middle, but now your shallow middle is going to be a little bit more open. So again, you have to account for this with one of your user defenders kind of jumping over the middle to keep things from getting exposed. So let's talk about shading coverages and just coverage adjustments, because this goes hand in hand with coverages. So if you press Y or triangle, you see your coverage adjustments pop up. If you want to give cushion because you're just worried about somebody burning you over the top, you got Tyreek Hill, you want to put guys back, you pull up your coverage adjustments and you can see you can give cushion by pressing up on the stick, on the left stick. If you want to press the defense, you do the same thing, coverage adjustments down on the left stick. Now everybody's going to get pressed at the line. This is good if you keep safety help over the top, but if it's one-on-one, you could get burned. If you want to What else we got here? If you want to show blitz, you can do that. It kind of brings an extra guy into the box. It gives the offense a kind of a worry that maybe you're sending a blitz. It's not something you're probably going to use too often, though. You can also base align your defense too, which kind of just centers everything up and it makes everything look the same. So for example here, if you call a cover 3 and you're not base aligned, most cover 3s are going to align like this, with one safety at the top and another safety in the box. It's kind of a giveaway that you could be in cover 3, but if you base align by pulling up your coverage adjustments and doing right on the left stick, what it does is it's going to center everything up. The reason this guy isn't moving right now is because I moved him manually. So if you do this when you break the huddle though, without touching your safeties, they'll always line up like that and everything will kind of be disguised and look like it could be the same thing. You'll never know what coverage, or your opponent rather will never know what coverage you're in. You can also use your coverage adjustments to shade. This is really important for things like stopping underneath routes. So things like drag routes. People have a tough time stopping drags and they say, oh, they're so broken, I can't stop them. Well, the thing is, you have to shade your defense down to account for it, because if not, yeah, you know, you can pick up some decent 5 yards. Right there, we didn't pick up a whole lot of yards, but usually you can pick up like 5 yards or something like that versus these zone defenses, because they don't bite down hard enough. They keep things in front of them. So you see here, we're throwing a drag and we're getting up for about 7, almost 8 yards. However, if we were to shade our defense down, that's going to take away things like drags and flats. So again, you pull up your coverage adjustments and you can see you can shade over top, inside, outside, or underneath. Go down on the right stick. Now we're shading underneath, so let's show you. This is what a cover 3 looks like regular. This is what it looks like when you shade underneath. You can see those curl flats turn into hard flats. The linebackers are going to play more aggressive too. And now if we try to throw this flat, look where this defender is. He doesn't let it get any, well, he broke the tackle, but had he made the tackle, the tight end would have got no yards, whereas the play before, he got 8 yards. So shading your coverage is very important. If someone's dink and dunking you, shade the coverage down. It'll help take that away. However, it'll leave some of the deeper routes more exposed, so it is a cat and mouse chess type of game. Next, you have your defensive line and linebacker adjustments. So to do your defensive line adjustments, you press left on the D-pad and it brings up all these adjustments. You can spread them, you can pinch them, you can shift them left, shift them right. You can also slant them inside, outside, left, or right. So slanting them inside would make them all rush more towards the middle. Slant outside would make them rush to the outside. Pretty self-explanatory. Now with the linebackers, it's going to be right on the D-pad and kind of similar. You can spread them, you can shift them left or right, you can pinch them, you can do whatever you want with your linebackers, right? Shift them whichever way makes your heart content. You also can blitz all your linebackers. If you just want to send a heavy blitz and you want to send all linebackers, you can do that. If you want to zone them out, let's say that you're in a play where they were already blitzing and you're getting caught in a hurry up or something and you want to hurry up and put your linebackers back in the zone, you pull up your linebacker adjustments, you can go to zone all up on the right stick, as you can see, and that drops them back in the hook zone. So, you know, if you want to just blitz one of the linebackers, you could blitz either the right or the left, depending on which one you want to blitz. So that's how you do your defensive line and your linebacker adjustments. Next, you have adjustments. So let's say you want to put guys in adjustments. You can get on any player, you hit the A button on Xbox or the X button on PlayStation, and you see you have different zone adjustments you can drop people in. You can drop this guy into a hard flat. You can drop him into a deep third. You can put him in a spy. And a spy, that's a key adjustment right there. Why? Because when you have fast people like Deshaun Watson, if you put him in a spy, you could see this guy is going to spy him and not let him run. He's going to be all over him. Now let's see what happens if we don't put a spy on the field. Now we have no spy on the field, and look what happens. Deshaun Watson can just take off. So when you're playing fast QBs, you're going to want to use that QB spy adjustment. It's going to do a really good job at keeping the QB from running for easy yards. So that's how you do any type of coverage adjustment. Maybe you want to double team somebody. Let's just say, I'm not worried about the running back here, or in fact, you know what? Let's take one of the safeties. Let's say I want to double team Randall Cobb in the slot. Now, honestly, I don't have to do that. In fact, we're gonna double team Brandon Cooks because we don't have to double team Randall Cobb. Again, you press A or X up on the right stick for man coverage, and then we can select Brandon Cooks, which is the X icon. Now he's double teamed. So it's just little adjustments you can make. You have other types of adjustments as well, which you can do by pressing the RB or R1 button. This is a way that you can do things like run commit, run up the middle, run right, run left. If you're really sure that your opponent's going to run either of those ways, you can run commit and the whole defense will commit to the run. However, I wouldn't advise using it unless you're on the goal line, because if you guess wrong and they're passing, then you're going to give up a touchdown. Pass committing, however, is important. So again, RB or R1 pulls this up. You could see pass is up on the right stick. And what that is good for is if someone's using a play action, your defensive line and or anybody that's rushing the QB will not get faked out by the play action, and they'll keep pursuing the QB. It's a really good tactic versus people that like to use play action. Another very important adjustment here is the QB contain, which you can see is the RB or R1 button. This is another way to contain mobile QBs, because maybe you don't want to put a spy on the play, but you don't want your QB or the opponent's QB to just go outside the pocket. Well, now those outside guys, you see, you can't get outside them because they're not going to try to rush the QB. Rather, they're going to play the edge and disengage. Now watch, this time there's no QB contain, they're just pass rushing, and I'm able to get outside of Joey Bosa. So a QB contain is another way to stop mobile quarterbacks. The last thing you want to be aware of are your coaching adjustments. This is something you can pull up at your play call screen. Now, what coaching adjustments does, a lot of things, especially this year, very important, the zone drop adjustments. These are really important. So let's say someone keeps hitting you with a deep crossing route or a deep corner route. You can adjust your zones to drop as far back as you want. So let's say you have cloud flats on the field, you like to play cover 2, but those cloud flats, somehow a corner route just keeps getting over the top of it. You can go to your zone drop coaching adjustments and say, hey, I want these to drop back 25 yards because I cannot stop that corner route from getting over my head. Well, now if you do this, that corner route won't get over your head. Let's say you like to run a lot of cover 3. And a corner route or a deep crossing route just keeps getting to the sideline over your curl flat defenders, which are the purple zones in the slot. You could do the same thing. Hey, I want them to drop 25 or 30 yards back or 20 yards back. However far back you need them to go. Yes, this is going to give up more ground underneath, but if someone's abusing with those deep routes to the sideline, this will make those zones drop really far back and contain them. You can do the same thing with your hook zones, which are usually your linebackers over the middle in those yellow zones. If someone's beating you deep down the seams, you can do the same thing. Hey, I want them to drop 25, 30 yards back. I don't want them to worry about underneath. I just don't want to get beat on the deep route. You can do that with your coaching adjustments. Another thing you can do with your coaching adjustments is you can do your cornerback matchup. You can match them up by overall, meaning your highest rated cornerback will match up versus the highest rated receiver. You could do it by speed. You could do it by height. You could do it by route running, by depth chart, or you could just leave it balanced. So that's a good skill, or not a skill, but a good adjustment to use. You can say how you want your AI defenders to play the ball in the air. Do you want them to play the ball? Do you want them to play the receiver and just try to knock the ball out? Do you want them to just go for swats? You have all these options at your disposal. Tackling, you can put it on conservative, which means there'll be less broken tackles, but you won't get the big like hits or things like that, but you won't usually give up a lot of extra yards. Whereas if you want to go aggressive, it's the opposite. Your guys are going to go for more big hits, but there's a higher chance of getting faked out or having tackles broken. Or you could just leave it on balance if you just want it to be balanced and you don't want it to be too aggressive one way or the other. So you want to get familiar with your coaching adjustments, play around with them, see which ones work best for you. These will really help your defense a lot in the game. Now, if you want to learn even more and how to get even better at the game, more advanced things that I can teach you, check out huddle.gg. I'm partnered with them again this year. They have breakdowns by the best players in the world, professional players. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or even a vet. You can learn something on this site. You can learn a lot on this site, in fact, and you can get started for free by using my link in the description below. So check that out. And as always, hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time.